What time is it?
It's time for the horror guys.
Yay!
I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're going to talk about some old and new movies.
Cool.
And we've got our first Christmas movie. Yay!
Well, I was hoping to hold off the Christmas movies till December.
They started creeping in already.
But this one's big, so we got to cover it now, I suppose.
We wanted to see it. And
yeah.
We wanted to share our opinion with you.
All right, well, what are we doing this week?
Well, we're starting off with the holiday special, Terrifier 3.
It's a Terrifier Christmas.
It's got a Christmas song with it. Yeah. I'm so waiting for them to release it as a playable song. I want to add that to my Christmas list.
Not
Christmas
yet, but they say it's coming.
Yep. And then we're going to look at a very odd indie film, the Omicron Killer.
Oh, it's odd.
Also new out this year. And then some older films. Sleepaway Camp from 1983. 80s slasher movie.
I didn't know why it was considered such a big classic until the very last scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And Hellraiser VII Deader from 2005. And then we're going to go way back in the time machine to The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which was 1953.
20,000 Fathoms, that's way down there.
That's way deep, yeah.
Well, okay, just a reminder that the latest issue of Horror Monthly is now on sale. Episode 30, issue 38. Podcast episodes, magazines, issues. Got to get my story straight. 54 reviews, plus a short story by Kevin himself.
Me?
It's well over 200 pages, so this thing's getting thick.
Ooh, nice.
Big, thick magazines. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots to read. And, of course, if you don't want to buy the paperback, you can get it in an ebook, Amazon, or any of the usual places. You can even buy it direct. Go to horrorguysshop.com and pick it up right now. Get it for Thanksgiving.
Or Christmas. Do your Christmas shopping early.
Yeah.
The perfect gift. You know, you buy somebody the complete set.
The complete set, 38 issues on paperback. It'll be about 2 feet tall and about $1 million. I don't know. Okay, it's not that bad. They're nicely affordable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so what are we going to start with?
We should start out with Terrifier.
Oh, that's just okay. The
Terrifier.
newest one first.
2024.
Written and directed by Damien Leone, stars Lauren Levera, David Howard Thornton, and Antonella Rose. 2 hours and 4 minutes.
Man.
And there's a trailer in the show notes.
Okay.
Spoiler free. What happened? What's it about?
Well, the movie is a nugget of a story hidden in a thick layer of gore and violence. The effects are impressively realistic, and the deaths are excessive. So you are warned. If you've seen the others, this is on par with them. Maybe a little bloodier.
Everything
it's hard to
plus,
say, but
yes.
Yeah, it's way over the top as far as gore. Yeah, Art the Clown's mime work is great, and the rest of the cast is fine. If you are a fan of the previous two, you should see this one because it's basically more of the same. It's at least as good, I think, as the others.
If you saw Terrifier 2 and you liked it, you want to see this one.
Yeah, I think so.
If you saw Terrifier 2 and you thought it was stupid, you can skip this one.
Because
it's the same thing.
More of the same.
Yes.
Yeah, basically. Only more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've enhanced everything that made Terrifier 2.
Yeah, had a bigger budget, more people working
Clearly, yes.
More people working on the special effects this time around, and yeah, nice job. And
all right.
You are warned with what you're getting.
All right. Well, we're not going to spoil any of the. We stopped our spoilers. We don't do that anymore. But we'll tell you about the first 10 or 15 minutes.
If you do want to see the full spoilery thing, you can check it out.
It's at horrorweekly.com, where you can read every last little twist and turn of all these movies.
And in the monthly books.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah.
A little girl comes into the bedroom. There's someone on the roof. There were footsteps. Her parents talk about the kid having too much sugar before bed. It causes bad dreams. That has been disproven, hasn't it?
Oh, not for me. If I have a ton of sugar before bed, I have all kinds of weird dreams. So I can personally attest to that.
Okay.
Too much sugar before bed.
You never heard anybody walking on the roof, though, I bet.
Not that specific thing, no.
Okay, maybe it was one of Santa's elves, they tell her. Well, the girl goes downstairs, and sure enough, she sees Santa in their living room. He reaches into his bag and pulls out an axe before going upstairs. Yeah, Santa is really Art the Clown, and none survive. Credits roll.
This movie is not afraid of killing children.
Yeah.
You are warned there, too.
And then we cut to 5 years prior. We see a cop who finds a decapitated clown, which is how Art died in the end of the previous movie.
Mm-hmm.
The headless body soon gets up and attacks the cop, who empties his gun into the thing's torso.
And doesn't kill it, because, it's alive without a head, so, shooting it's not going to do much.
The clown then puts on the cop's head and rides the subway with it.
Yeah.
Art the clown is a white guy, and the cop is black, so they got this white guy with a black head riding the subway, and he gets stares.
And he's sitting there holding it in place.
Well, we then cut to an orderly at the mental hospital who interrupts one of the patients who is cannibalizing another.
Ew.
The headless clown is there, and so's his head now, assisting the crazy woman. The clown puts his head on, and of course it's Art.
With his proper head.
The crazy woman is Vicky, who goes with him to his lair, and they eat a real clown along the way. In the present day, Uncle Greg comes up to pick up Sienna for the previous film, and she's been in the hospital. He takes her home, where Gabby and Jessica await them. Not far away, Dennis and Jackson, some construction guys, go into an old house that smells terrible.
Yeah, they're looking at doing a demolition job. They're clearing things out and getting this set up.
One guy is spooked because there are stories about the place. A maniac killed a dozen kids and buried them in the basement of this house. Then they find Vicky and Art's bodies there, both in some kind of hibernation, but not for long.
They're back.
It's their way of saying 5 years later, these guys were asleep all that time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, anyway, we'll stop there. It's got Art, and it's got Vicky, and it's got Sienna, and it's got lots and lots of gore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oodles.
Well, when the police show up, they're going to pin all the deaths on Sienna, right? She's like the final girl.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the song, It's a Terrifier Christmas, is going to be on my playlist this year if they ever release it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We heard that and immediately looked, and they're like,
I want that on my Christmas
It's not
playlist.
out yet. Well, there are many, many gore shots here, and they are impressive. They're very good gore shots if you're into those. There's a lot of them. Sienna's character has PTSD, and it seems fairly realistically portrayed, as does her family's reaction to it. She's crazy. We got to be careful around her.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Well, there is a story this time around, but just like with the previous installments, it's kind of more about the gore and the torture. Still, if you like the previous film, this has more of the stuff you liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bigger budget. David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown, he never speaks, never makes a sound.
Nope.
His mime and pantomiming is really good. That really impresses me. Yeah. But I found myself getting a little weary of the gore. It's almost, excessive and gore for the sake of gore.
You were looking for more story.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's to the point of tedium at times.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So I liked it, but I didn't love it.
I really liked the scene of Art in the bar with the Santa Claus and the bartender and
that was the
Clint
best.
Howard, of all people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the bar. Yeah.
There are a lot of little familiar faces that pop up in here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of little cameo-type roles.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's good.
I didn't hate it.
No, I didn't hate it.
I thought it was better than the second one, which is far better than the first. I think they're getting better as they go along.
Definitely, yeah.
All Hallows Eve, he was just a little short.
Yeah. And then the first one, yeah, definitely filling out and getting better as it goes, yeah.
Still not great if you're looking for stories.
And left wide open, so there could be a fourth.
Oh, no doubt.
You know that.
As far as I know, it's made money.
That always happens, yeah.
All right, well, one that there's... what can we say about the Omicron Killer from 2024?
It was a bit of indie work.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for this months ago, and I waited and waited and waited for it to be available. And finally, it's on Tubi. So you can watch this right now. And I'm somewhat amazed that I was looking forward to this. It's kind of horrible.
You were whelmed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Directed by Jeff Knight, Knite. Written by Johnny Caricia, Jeff Knight, and Poe Shadow. Stars Bai Ling, Felissa Rose, and Lynn Lowry. Hour and 38 minutes. You got to watch the trailer before you watch this. It's something.
You should, yeah. Well, and the movie is something, too.
It's something.
Yeah.
Spoiler free, we got well into this one before we realized it was a sequel. There was a movie called The COVID Killer that came out a couple years ago. And this is the second one of that. Obviously, the Omicron virus came after COVID because it was, a sequel virus.
And this is
the sequel
killer.
movie. And named after,
Yeah.
Which we did not realize that. I don't think it really mattered. There's a character that's killed in the very beginning who I guess may have been important in the first movie, but it don't matter.
Story-wise, I think it was okay.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It seemed like we were okay missing the first one. It's a watchable, indie-level project with enough good elements to keep it interesting, and it does definitely get a little weird, and we give it a moderate thumbs up.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. It just was not what I was expecting.
It wasn't, but I don't regret watching it.
There's a lot of funny bits in here, especially one guy is just funny in every scene.
Yes, yeah. Well, we watch camera footage of a man with a knife breaking into a kitchen, but the woman inside isn't what he was expecting. The COVID killer is now dead.
Yeah, it was a cop dressed up like a woman in disguise who turns around and kills the COVID killer. Mm-hmm. I assume that's how the first movie ended.
Standing there doing dishes. Yeah. Did you ever see the old Sylvester Stallone movie Nighthawks with Rutger Hauer? And he's hunting a terrorist. Rutger Hauer is a terrorist. And,
maybe.
And Sylvester Stallone is a cop. And I'm going to totally spoil that because that has that ending.
Oh, okay.
You think that Rutger Hauer is going to get his girl, and he's sneaking into the house, and it's very suspenseful, and he's tippy-pausing, and you're thinking that Sylvester Stallone's character and the cops are on their way there. Rutger Hauer got first, and, he's sneaking up on her, and he's sneaking up on her, and he's going to kill her, and he's going to kill her, and she turns around, she's doing dishes. She turns around, and it's Sylvester Stallone in a wig. He got there first.
Okay.
And he's got the gun in the dishwasher in a bag, and, turns
Well, if you're
around
going to steal from the greats.
Yeah, so I don't know if they stole it, but yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
Okay, so the COVID killer is now dead, but there's a copycat killer out there.
Oh, noes.
What happens?
Well, a year passes. The COVID killer is trending all over social media. However, the copycat killer, he's been mostly forgotten. He's not liking that. The news says the new Omicron variant of COVID has been identified.
So this takes place during COVID times.
Yeah, and they even mock him in the news. Like, just like the Omicron, the copycat killer, he's weak and ineffective. And yeah.
Nothing like, goading him out into the public.
Yeah, way to go, yeah. Well, on the street, the Omicron killer is mugged by 3 armed men. He beats them to death with their own weapons before passing out himself. The police show up and examine the 3 bodies. Captain Callahan isn't impressed with the overweight silent victim. And credits roll. And they just think that he's the victim, and they're looking for who killed these 3 guys, not thinking that he did it. No. Well, the overweight mugging victim is taken to the hospital, where he growls at the nurse. Doesn't say anything.
I don't think he speaks in the entire film.
Nope. Well, meanwhile, 4 kids go to their grandmother's grave. She was a victim of the killer. We get flashbacks of that. Meanwhile, a group of cultists arrive and run the kids off. The cultists do a whole ritual, drinking blood, and they summon the COVID killer from hell.
We used to go walk through the cemetery all the time, and I don't remember ever seeing a bunch of cultists that show up.
No, it's all in the timing, I guess, but I never show. Dr. Fruger, notice the name, not Kruger, Fruger, talks to John Doe, the killer in the hospital. John doesn't speak to him either. And the very weird nurse seduces the guard outside the door and gets rid of him. The doctor tries to force-feed the patient strawberries, and we see he's the worst doctor ever. I dabble in pain, he says, and he is just awful. Yeah. Well, at the police station, Captain Callahan assigns 2 sloppy cop detectives, one of them her son, as partners. At a house, 8-year-old Bobby devises a plan to capture and maybe kill the Omicron killer.
Yeah, we
should probably stop there. Yeah. So the killer's wandering around. All these people are sort of aware of him, and some are not, and hilarity ensues.
Well, yeah. Well, we watched this movie not realizing it was a sequel. That's probably okay here. It still totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This one is watchable with some good qualities. It's got a serious indie level vibe. Oh, I'm reading your commentary.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Was this sponsored by Kit Kat and the Lemonade Company? It shows up in half the scenes.
Shows up, yeah, Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
just-
rule it out.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, this is a sequel to 2021's The COVID Killer. I thought it started out kind of promising with a lot of humor. And it mostly just devolved into a lot of people talking and talking and talking.
Yeah, I thought
The middle of the film was very talky
I
and
thought
slow.
it was a little too talky there.
Yeah, it could have been
for-
like 20
for a
minutes
stretch
less.
of talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
did have
it's-
some very funny bits to it.
Yeah, sure. It's certainly watchable with some good qualities. Everything decent about it. Decent story, decent effects.
Yeah, some of the lesser name actors were very good here. The fat guy with the bandana was funny in every scene.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even
He
tell you what
was.
his name is. He's so far down in the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn Lowry as the chief of police was so horribly overacted. She's been in tons of things. You'd think she'd be better than this.
I don't know. Maybe it was doing it on purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
Bai Ling, who gets top credit. She's the number one star of the movie. And she's the weird Asian nurse that tries to seduce the guy. She's in like 5 minutes, and boy, she's weird.
Top billing. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of weirdness.
Yeah, a lot of weirdness,
well,
yes.
I met my primary goal of being entertained. That's what a movie needs to do.
It was entertaining.
It
yes.
entertained me, so therefore it's a win. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go back in time to the ultimate classic, or so some people would say on Reddit, Sleepaway Camp from 1983.
Now, how are we going to talk about this effectively without spoiling it?
Yeah, we won't.
Okay.
Written and directed by Robert Hiltzik, stars Felissa Rose. Hey, she was in the previous movie, too. She was the lead cultist.
Okay. Oh, she grows up and she
does.
Actually, we looked her up and she is just doing a ton of movies now.
In this year, she got like 30 things coming out.
Uh-huh.
Jonathan Tiersten and Karen Fields, hour and 24 minutes. Trailer in the show notes.
That's the actress that plays little Angela in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was 13 in this one, and I don't know, older in the new one.
And that was nice that this one had teenagers playing teenagers. I like it when movies do
Well, the
that.
main character was definitely a teenager. I don't know about all of them.
Some of them, definitely, yeah. It's a who is the killer kind of movie, with people gradually getting picked off. You know the scenario, 80s slasher. It's a summer camp. They're isolated. Who's the killer? Well, the body count is a little on the low side, and it's kind of slow-moving here and there, but the payoff is worth sticking through the whole thing. Definitely an overall thumbs up.
Yeah.
Considered a classic, and I can kind of see why. Yeah.
I was wondering what the hell is so good about this movie all the way through it.
Well,
until we
it's got some elements.
Kind of makes sense there toward the end.
Yeah. So there's people who haven't seen it that we can't spoil it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we open on a shot of a camp as credits roll. We see that Camp Arawak is for sale. A young couple drives a motorboat with a water skier behind it as a dad, son, and daughter watch from a little sailboat. The sailboat tips over, and sure enough, the motorboat runs right into the family, killing the father and one of the kids.
That's a heck of a start.
Well, 8 years later, Richard's mother, who is quite the actor.
She's something.
Oh my goodness, she belonged in the previous movie. And she's also Angela's aunt. They bring them a whole bag of snacks for their trip to camp. Their physical slips, which she prepared herself since she's a doctor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Angela.
Well, that's relevant. Angela has not been seen by a doctor other than her mother.
Yeah.
Or her aunt, who's not her mother.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Angela is the surviving child from the boating accident. The young campers all arrive, and the staff watch. There's no such thing as being too young, says one pervy staff member.
Yeah, he does the creep factor really well.
Ricky greets Paul, but Angela doesn't speak. Judy is Ricky's ex-girlfriend, but she's outgrown him.
And
so we've got the teen drama going on.
We do, yeah.
Meg is in charge of the girls' dorm, and the girls don't care for the silent and morose Angela. She just doesn't speak.
She's pretty messed up.
Quite a while later, Ronnie, one of the adults, learns that Angela hasn't eaten since she got there and takes her into the kitchen for real food. Artie, the perv from earlier, is tasked with taking care of her. Oh, he tries to take care of her, but Ricky interrupts before he can get his pants unfastened. So this is one of those, not quite so modern camps.
Mm-hmm.
Artie is alone in the kitchen not long after, and we see someone is watching him. He prefers a huge tub of boiling water to cook the corn. We're like, what would you put in a pot like that?
Lots and lots of corn.
But the unseen person makes sure Artie pays for his choices.
Ouch.
The paramedics come and haul him away. He didn't die, so that's not a body count yet. And Mel, the owner of the camp, offers the kitchen staff raises to keep quiet about all that. Well, we then get a number of scenes that shows us that life in camp is worse than prison, maybe gayer as well.
Those short shorts on the guys, and the gals too.
Yeah.
But yeah, short shorts. We're in style in the early 80s.
Paul, at least, is nice to Angela, but no one else is. He knows what happened to her family, and Judy in the camp is the bad girl, and she doesn't like Paul's friendliness with the quiet girl. Angela finally decides that she'll talk to him. That night, all the guys get naked and jump in the lake. Kenny runs into the killer, and in the morning, the guys find his body. Mel, the owner of the camp, of course, says it's just an accident. And things continue like that. People die, and Mel always says it's just an accident.
Getting picked off more and more until it can no longer be ignored.
Felissa Rose, as Angela, was actually only 13 here, which is kind of creepy considering kind of the stuff that goes on in this film.
A little, yeah.
It's a very child rapey kind of film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's lots of weird little details in this one that just sets off lots of red flags. Even without the killer, summer camp here looks like a pretty miserable place, except for maybe all those short shorts. It's like Lord of the Flies, only with counselors. Talk about your lack of supervision.
Yeah, it did seem that way.
It is definitely a slasher film, but the body count is surprisingly low. I didn't keep a count, but I bet there's not more than 4 or 5. The memorable part of the film is, of course, the ending, which we're not going to spoil. But basically, it's a whodunit.
It was more slow-moving than I remember, but still wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, made me nostalgic for the days of short shorts.
You could wear short shorts right now, go around in town to the grocery store wearing things like that.
Oh, you'd like that.
You'd get some stares.
Overall, I didn't enjoy it as much on a rewatch as I did the first time, but I'd recommend it if you're into 80 slashers. And
this is one of those ones I am absolutely sure I
seen
saw.
it before. Okay.
But I saw it on network TV.
Well, probably cut up then.
Oh, it would be cut to
Sliced
death.
and
Yes,
diced. Yeah,
I can't imagine what I could have seen because I didn't remember any of it. It was forgettable.
Yeah. It would have been slashed badly on network television.
Yes, it would have.
Hit, slashed, hit. Anyway, you should see it.
One that we probably could have slashed entirely was Hellraiser VII Deader from 2005.
This is for sure my least favorite of the week.
Well, it's been ages since we did the previous Hellraiser, but the two were filmed at the same time in Romania, so they kind of go together.
Kinda, yeah.
So we should have done this one weeks ago, and, well, we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Rick Bota, written by Clive Barker, Neil Marshall Stevens, and Tim Depp, stars Carrie Werrer, Iona Chermenskia, and Hugh Jorgen. Hour and 28 minutes, trailer in the usual place. Spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free, this was a mediocre horror movie with some Pinhead and Cenobite action stuck in almost like an afterthought.
This was the problem with all the Hellraiser. Most of the Hellraiser movies after number 4 is it felt like they were just written as movies, and the Hellraiser stuff was added later.
Stick in a little bit of Cenobite here.
Yes.
Yeah, they were heading in the wrong direction with this one for sure as far as overall quality, and we would probably put it as the worst of the series. We'd say skip it unless you're serious about wanting to see them all, because there's just really not much here.
I think number 8 we haven't done yet, and 9 and the newest one we have done. So we're almost caught up with the series.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we open in an old house where everyone is passed out from doing too much drugs. We focus on Amy Klein, who wakes up and takes pictures of everyone in the place. She's an undercover reporter. And How to Be a Crack Whore is her latest article. Oh, she must really get into her work.
Step-by-step instructions.
She gets called into the boss's office. Charles there has something new to show her on a videotape. He wants to know if she's heard of deaders. And the tape shows a group of young people in some sort of cult. They have a terrified woman lay down on a bed of plastic, and then they make her play Russian roulette, and the girl loses. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
But the cult leader then kisses the corpse, and the blood and the guts all flow back into her, and she wakes up. All right.
Okay.
Amy wonders if it's done by special effects, but Charles thinks the tape is legitimate. He wants her to pursue the story in Bucharest, and he's already bought her tickets. Well, in Bucharest, Amy tracks down the return address for the videotape. There's quite a smell, And inside, she finds the woman from the video, quite dead and rotten.
And there was something about Romania around this time that made it very appealing for horror movies to be made there.
Lots of tax breaks or something, yeah, because there was a lot of them at this time.
Yeah.
She finds and takes a book of photos and papers. She has to get uncomfortably close to the gross dead body, but she finds an envelope. There's a note inside that says, "Help us." The dead woman also has a very familiar-looking puzzle box. Amy takes everything from the woman's cold, dead hands.
Mm-hmm. She'll regret that.
She goes back to her hotel and finds a key and another tape. The tape shows Marla, the dead woman for the video, and the apartment, and she talks about never opening the box. It's now up to you to stop this. And she gives Amy instructions on how to proceed. Naturally, Amy opens the box and sees Pinhead, who warns her that she's in danger. She also has visions of her father.
And that's about the extent of the Pinhead. I mean, there's a little more later, but yeah, it's really low on the Cenobite and Pinhead action.
It's the reporter following down a story, doing the police procedural stuff in Romania, and it's creepy because it's Romania.
And figuring out a cult. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a movie.
Yeah, it happened. It was okay.
Well, there's only a brief glimpse of Pinhead in the first hour. Like the previous two films, this one focuses on an investigator, solving a mystery, and chasing leads. Since that didn't work at all in the previous two films, you have to wonder why they just do that again. I mean, those were the two lowest rated movies of the entire series. And then they decided, hey, let's do it again.
Let's do it a third time, yeah.
It's not great, but it's not the worst of the series either.
Isn't it, though?
I don't know. I think
it's down there.
The one before this, I think we didn't care for too much.
It's hard to grade because they're kind of shuffling
kind of
around the
bad
bottom
at this point.
Yeah.
I like Pinhead. I like the idea. The first two movies were really good.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then they just went to crap.
Hellraiser itself, and then the reboot was pretty good, but yeah, this one not so much.
Yeah, it's one to watch for the sake of completion and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched this one so long ago, it doesn't even have a place for your comments.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
it's an oldie.
That's all right.
Out from the archives.
Mm-hmm.
But really old, really old, 1953, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
70 years ago. 71 years ago this was put out.
Directed by Eugene Laurie, written by Lou Morheim, Fred Freiberger, who did a lot of Star Trek, and Ray Bradbury, who didn't do a lot of Star Trek.
No, but he wrote it.
Stars Paul
Did the
Hubschmid.
screenplay.
Stars the great star Paul Hubschmid. Remember him, don't you?
No, I don't.
Well, he starred in this. Yeah. Paula Raymond and Cecil Kellaway, hour and 20 minutes. And
something interesting, a bit of trivia about the title.
Uh-huh.
The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. 20,000 fathoms is about 120,000 feet. The ocean at its deepest point is only 36,200 feet. So it's deeper than the ocean, like by a factor of almost 4.
They probably didn't know that in the 50s.
They couldn't do the math. They were hoping the ocean was that deep. Yeah.
Well, it's an early creature feature. Actually, it's the very first kaiju monster, radioactive kaiju monster.
It's thought that this was an inspiration for Godzilla.
Yes.
By the guy who saw it in Japan.
The effects are dated, of course, but it's well put together and entertaining. The cast is good, and the story flows well. It's a surprisingly fun watch for being so old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Ray Harryhausen stop motion photography. So it's got this big clay lizard that stampedes through town, and it looks like a big clay lizard stampeding through town. But I mean, for the 50s, it was pretty good.
And like we said, it's the first atomic creature feature.
Yeah,
there were many atomic creature features, not just Godzilla, but lots of U.S. ones too. Giant insects and tarantulas and all sorts of. But this was where it began.
It is.
Yeah.
So how's it go?
Well, we're told about a secret base and experiment way north of the Arctic Circle. It's Operation Experiment.
Oh, that's catchy.
That's
a witty title.
Yeah. And the men have been preparing for a long time. They've got a decent-sized base set up here and all kinds of science. And I thought that was fun, too, because this is like cutting-edge technology. And
A lot of these 50 sci-fi
Yeah.
movies are like that. They show lots of like leftover military clips with airplanes and tanks and ships and
even the
yeah.
panels of the machines they're working on in the lab and everything. It's,
Buttons and
very
lights and
mechanical.
flashy, uh-huh.
Yeah, for
Very cool.
1953. Yeah.
I'd say retro, but it wasn't.
It was
then.
it was high tech. Yeah. Well, we get a tense countdown as the airplane detonates an atomic bomb.
No, don't do that.
Well,
Not
they-
at the North Pole.
Well, you never know what's going to happen. Well, they don't, so let's try it and see. Well, the radar tech sees something unexpected on the radar, but by the time the Colonel Evans shows up, it's gone. It's probably just an artifact or something. Professor Tom Nisbet warns that we don't really know what the effect of the bomb's radiation will be, but they're going to head to the blast site to find out. So they send some guys. The scientists go out to check their radiation meters, and there's a blizzard coming up. Not only that, but there's some kind of giant roaring dinosaur walking between the snowdrifts.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that was unexpected. Well, the creature scares George, one of the scientists, into falling into a crevice, and only Tom is there to help him back out. Well, just then, the monster creates an avalanche that completely buries George.
No more George.
No more George. Tom goes back to the base alone and unconscious, and they wake him up enough to have him babble about the monster. Well, Tom is flown back to the United States, where he recovers, and they think he's having traumatic hallucinations. The psychiatrist assigned to help Tom, well, no one believes that there's a giant dinosaur out there. They think he just, hallucinated that. Colonel Evans visits, and he doesn't believe the story either. Except we cut to a fishing boat, and it is attacked by the monster. Tom reads the report of a giant sea serpent in the newspaper. And he's like, look, and they're still like, no, it's nothing. Yeah. Well, Tom goes to his paleontologist friend, Professor Elson. Tom believes that an ancient dinosaur got frozen in the ice and revived when the bomb blew up. And Elson thinks that's ridiculous, but his assistant, Lee Hunter, tries to help Tom's argument. The old man refuses to get involved. So Tom goes away. Except he hears another radio report about a sea monster, and he just laughs. Lee goes to see Tom about the monster, and he's tired of being ridiculed. And she's like, I'm on your side. I kind of believe you. Well, like a police lineup, she shows him pictures of known dinosaurs, and he identifies the one he saw. Well, he goes to the captain of the fishing boat to see if he'll corroborate the story.
And he does.
And he does.
Things escalate from there.
He also picks that dinosaur out of the lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people start believing him.
Yeah.
And then the monster starts showing up more and is
Yeah.
truly,
Before long, everybody believes it.
everybody believes it. Yeah.
Well, this is said to be one of the inspirations for the original Godzilla films, which came out in 1954. I think I'm going from memory there, so the next year. Mm-hmm. And is the first so-called atomic creature. Not the first giant creature, not the first atomic creature, but the first giant atomic creature.
Right. Okay.
And this one is entirely stop motion, done by Ray Harryhausen himself, and it set the format for essentially all the giant monster films to come.
And there were a lot of them in this era.
Yeah, and there was a lot more of this creature than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Those old stop motion pictures, they were sparse. They didn't show the monster much.
This one does a lot.
did.
Mm-hmm.
The storyline with the actors was engaging, if a little predictable. Overall, it was well-paced and fun. The stop motion is pretty jerky compared to modern CGI, but for the time period, it was not bad.
Yeah. Cutting edge effects.
Yeah, if it sounds interesting and you like the giant monsters, I would definitely still recommend it.
And it's a hint of the Godzilla movies to come. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
a giant monster raging through the city. Sure.
The special effects were actually better than some of those later films. They kind of cranked out some garbage there. And
Well, Godzilla was
this was-
mostly a man in a suit, which is not the same. It doesn't give the same options.
yeah. I'd seen it years ago, and I was entertained this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd recommend it.
All right. Well, we've only got one short film for you this week. We're in the process of migrating to a different web host, so we had to freeze Horror Guys for the week.
It's okay.
It'll be back.
It'll be back.
It'll be back.
But this one was a pretty darn good one.
2019's Ayuda, which My Duolingo has taught me what ayuda means.
Spanish for help.
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 Actually, I think they are the help.
Okay.
Maybe that's the way this one works in this case.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
directed by Patrick Mason, written by Patrick Mason and Raul Serpis. Stars Tom Belfry, Caleb Velasquez, David Lamort, and Laura Ruperez. 11.5 minutes, and you can watch this one on YouTube. It's out there. You can watch it.
And I'm going to tell you what happens.
Tell me what happens.
Two Spanish-speaking men are hired by an American who doesn't seem to speak Spanish to do some work for him. The three men climb into the van along the coffin-sized box.
Looks like a very tight fit in the back seat.
Yeah. They stop near the woods where the man wants them to bury the box.
Nothing sketchy there.
Yeah. Well, curiosity gets a hold of the two men, and bad things ensue.
What's in that box? It's coffin-sized.
Yeah. And we don't ever really find out what the man's intentions. Was he going to dispose of these immigrants afterwards to cover the trail?
They suspected he was, but we don't know. It didn't get that far.
Didn't get that far. Things happened before then. And, if he's the villain, there's worse things than being a villain. Yeah. It was really nicely shot. There's a creepy atmosphere. It's mostly out in the woods. Good acting all around. It's kind of a mystery. We want to see what's in the box as well. Open it, open it, open it. Yeah. It was very nice.
Yeah, this could be a scene in pretty much any real monster movie. And it feels like it was, actually, just one scene.
Yeah, very well made. Yeah.
All right, so we're a little short on the short films this week, so we're going to call it our short vacation.
Sure.
But we'll be back with more shorts next week, of course. And that is it for this week. Stop in over at horrorbulletin.com. Oh, there's a blast from the past. I said horror bulletin, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Horrorweekly.com. We've had so many changes over the years.
I was looking at the list this week. I'm going to have to go with The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms as my favorite.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Old-timey.
Yeah, I think so. Out of all these. Yeah.
For the past 2 or 3 months, because of Halloween, we've done almost nothing but exclusively brand new movies. Mm-hmm. I am really looking forward to doing some old movies after these. They're just completely different aesthetic, completely different vibe out of these. Mm-hmm. It's like, comfort food.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah. Everything nowadays feels like, depression was the monster all along. And stuff like that.
A lot of that.
Oh, look, there's a bottle of pills on the table. Which
they must
the
be
rest
crazy
of the film
and hallucinating.
Yeah.
Or are they not? Yeah.
In the 50s, there was a monster, and you knew it was a monster.
Yeah.
So much simpler. All right, so next week we'll be back with 5 more movies and a certain number of shorts to be determined.
Some.
And, stop in over at horrorweekly.com, and you can read the full spoilers and all the ones we just talked about. So if there's some of these that you don't want to bother watching, you don't have to. You can still get the story. You can know what Terrifier 3 is without sitting through the gore. Mm-hmm. So when all your friends at work talk about Art the Clown's latest massacre, you can talk about him too.
And fake that you saw it.
But you don't have to sit through it. It's great. All right, well, that's it for this week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.